Hello beautiful, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bettina and I'm the makeup enthusiast. In today's video I am sharing with you my most used palettes for 2023. I have a total of 7 palettes here in front of me here. I wanted to share with you the palettes that I have been really enjoying using and consistently using this year. But before we get into the video, this video is sponsored by Ana Luisa. Ana Luisa is a jewelry company and they reached out to me to see if I wanted to do a collaboration with them, and I totally agreed. I have worked with them a number of times previously. I have a growing collection of Ana Luisa products, mainly earrings. Earrings are like the way that I like to accessorize. I have a lot of their earrings now and I thoroughly enjoy them. I think that they are super good quality and they last. They have stood the test of time, and I think that they would make fantastic gifts for this time of year. If you are a bit stumped about what you can get your loved ones, or even a little gift for yourself, Ana Luisa is a great place to start. The pieces start at just $39. They do offer free shipping within the US and they offer discounted shipping for international. Their shipping is always super fast, and I think these little envelopes are like a great way to give a gift. You can wrap this, you can just pop a little bow on it, what have you, and they have a fantastic selection of rings, earrings, necklaces. I definitely would recommend you checking them out. There's a 2-year warranty on all of their products. They're carbon neutral, which I absolutely love. Their packaging is minimal, as I just showed, but they're also carbon neutral. So if you are wanting to get a little eco-conscious friend a little gift, but you're worried about, you know, the impact on the environment, I think that Ana Luisa is a great choice to make because they are carbon neutral. You can shop guilt-free. Now, I did select 2 different types of hoops. I don't have many hoops in my collection, so I did select these round hoops, but I also selected these kind of like rectangular hoops, and I really like them. I think they're just a really fun way to accessorize. Ana Luisa are doing a sale for this holiday period, so you can shop before Christmas, ready for those presents for your loved ones. You can get up to 30% off their current range of pieces. I'll leave a link down below in the description box. You can click through and browse through their collection. Let me know down in the comments if you have previously purchased from Ana Luisa, if you have any pieces in your collection, or if you are thinking about picking up some pieces in the sale. I would love to know what you have your eye on. Thank you very much again to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video, and let's jump back into content. So my palettes that I have used most, or my most used palettes for this year, surprise, surprise, they're all neutral palettes. This year I didn't really have much of an opportunity to play with color. I just haven't really had much of a chance to experiment with color, to play with color, and I also haven't really been feeling all that inspired. I did also have my extended holiday in the middle of the year, so that also hindered that kind of creative flair that I normally have when it comes to my makeup. So by and large this year, my most used palettes were neutral palettes. So if you want to see my favorite neutral palettes, I guess, from 2023, then let's get into it. So the first one on the top here is the Melt Gemini palette. Now this is not a new palette on like the market by any means. This was re-released, I think it was either last year or the year before. I got this, I think it was either Christmas last year or maybe my birthday this year. Now, I actually have, since the start of the year, hit pan on 2 shades in this palette. That's how much I've been enjoying using this palette, and I've been reaching for it quite consistently. I will say though, for the most part, I've only been like reaching for this neutral end of the palette. I don't often dip into these like murky green colors. Not to say that they're not a great formula, I just haven't had an occasion where it called for these like murky greens as much. Whereas these neutral ones, it's just super easy to grab out, chuck it on, wear it to work, Bob's your uncle. I've got like really easy matte creases, really easy matte outer V's in the palette. Great little shimmer to pair with those as well. So I have been reaching for this a lot. As you can see, I also have 2 pans, so that just goes to demonstrate again how often I have been reaching for this palette as well. The next one is one that I've had in my collection for probably like a year now, but I often go back to it just because I know how effortless the formula is and how beautiful the looks always turn out. And that's my Hindash Beautopsy palette. Now I know that this had like a lot of hype and a lot of hubbub when it first came out, but I don't often see people speak about it or refer to it anymore these days. I find myself reaching for this quite organically, and I just find that the mattes, like especially the browns, like I often reach for this side up here, this one here, and then this side here. I just find them really super easy to use. The look always looks beautiful and blended. It looks really seamless and effortless. I just find this palette is just a real fuss-free palette for me, particularly reaching for those browns that I just pointed out. I just always find that the look turns out really, really well. My only gripe is when I use this, because I'm a big fan of shimmer on the lid, mattes on like the crease and outer corner. I'm not a great lover of all matte looks, and I rarely ever do all matte looks. I find that I need an accompanying palette to go with this. So as much as I love the mattes in the palette and I do reach for them very regularly, it's hard. It's not a single use palette for me, or it's not a whole one look, one palette for me. I always find myself, I need to reach for something else. The next one is another surprise palette. And when I first got this palette, I didn't think I would use it as much as I do, but I actually really like this palette as well. And again, for neutral looks or even like neutral looks with a little bit of a pizzazz, I often reach for this palette. I often take this palette away with me because I just find it's really easy to use. And that's my Charlotte Tilbury Smoky Eyes Are Forever palette. Now, hear me out here. I really like the shimmers in here, and specifically I want to say I like this shimmer here. I really like this shimmer here and this one here. I reach for this palette quite a lot when it comes to like really nice like beautiful neutral going out looks, but with like a little bit of something extra, especially this like one here. I just find when you put it on the eyes, it just looks absolutely beautiful. And then paired with the mattes as well, the mattes in this palette, I find again, they're super easy. It has those extra colors in here, like this red one here to add a little bit of extra, and even this dark matte brown here as well, just to make it like a little bit more evening appropriate, a little bit more smoky. Really love this palette. I might mention the last like old palette, and then the next 3 palettes are like new to my collection this year. The Pat McGrath Mothership Mega Celestial Divinity palette. I just love the shimmers in this palette. I reach for this palette by and large for the shimmers. You'll see in this palette here, I have a lot of pans, and that is just because I love reaching for the shimmers. I find them really beautiful and easy to work with, especially like the neutral shimmers in this palette. Like I've been saying, the neutral shimmers in this palette are, for the most part, what I've been reaching for this year. I hit a lot of pans in this palette last year, like towards the end of last year. And then this year, most recently, probably in the last like month or 2, I grabbed it out again and I've been loving it. I've like rekindled my love and romance for this palette because I just think the shimmers in here are really beautiful. I'm actually wearing the like olivey green, this one here, on my eyes today. I'm still really enjoying using the palette. It's got a lot of usage on it. You can see it's looking battered and bruised, and yeah, I just really like this palette. I think it's a really great, just well done palette from Pat McGrath. I actually kind of prefer these palettes, like the Christmas palettes, over the really expensive like giant, what are they called? The giant palettes, the Divine Rose palettes. Is that what they're called? No, they're called the Mothership palettes. The next palette that I have to mention is my Natasha Denona My Dream palette. And I think that this, for me as well, is also a bit of a dream palette. I love using this palette. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I have been consistently reaching for this palette since I got it. You can see I've already hit 2 pans in the palette. These ones over here are looking well worn. I reach for these mattes quite a lot. I get a lot of use out of this palette. I really love this palette. The shimmers in here, even like this one here, I don't use Vision all that much, but when I do reach for it, it is really beautiful. So those are the 4 like main shimmers that I actually, is that like, that's basically all the shimmers, majority of the shimmers. This one here is like the multi-chrome duochrome. I don't reach for that one all that much. The other 3 are the ones that get the most use. But again, I just really love this color story. I find it so easy to work with. It comes off with this like really beautiful like bridal-esque makeup, and it goes well with everything. It's so easy to blend and use, and it's just a super easy palette, and I think it is one of my dream palettes. The last 2 palettes is from, I think I'm going to say it, this is my favorite brand, my favorite eyeshadow brand, and it's Glamonatrix. I have been absolutely adoring both of these palettes from Glamonatrix this year. The first one is the Nearly Natural palette, and the second one is the Rich Romance palette. We might start with the Nearly Natural palette because this is the oldest palette from their range out of the 2. I wasn't going to pick this palette up. I decided last year that I didn't need this palette, and then I started seeing people like talk about it. I started seeing a few reviews here and there. I started seeing a lot of people do looks and swatches, and I was like, I think I made a mistake. Like, I think I actually want to get this palette. So then I decided to purchase it. I think I purchased it in a pre-order, and it arrived maybe around like April, maybe March, April kind of time. Ever since then, I have consistently reached for this. I have reached for it non-stop. The shimmers in here are absolutely beautiful. You can see some of the mattes are starting to get like dips in there. I just love using this palette, and it's so beautiful. These shimmers though, I do find sometimes I need to like grab a shimmer from another palette, just because I feel like sometimes the shimmers can be a little bit too intense, especially if I am trying to do a look for work. I'm like, maybe that's just like a little bit too shimmery and sparkly for work. That's those 4 there. I'm like, maybe that's just a little bit too shimmery and sparkly for work. And again, you get that beautiful bridal-esque makeup from these ones here. You get that like beautiful, like pinky, neutrally tone from this palette. So just absolutely beautiful. And the last palette is the Rich Romance palette from Glamonatrix. This palette has only just recently come in to my collection, but I have been using it non-stop since I received it. Absolutely beautiful. These like shimmers, these 3 here, they're like multi-chrome duochromes, absolutely stunning. That's these 3 here. This is probably the most colorful out of all of these, but I've just been reaching for it non-stop. It's absolutely gorgeous. I find it really easy to like grab for one of these shimmers and pair it with other palettes. Like you can pair it with the Nearly Natural really easily. You can also pair it with the My Dream really easily. I just find those 3 are really beautiful, and they just like, they're really stunning special shades that you can pair easily with other palettes. Even down to the mattes in this palette, I also find them quite easy to work with. These like purples, they look super intense and scary and confronting, but they're really easy to work with. So I've also been reaching for this palette again non-stop since I got it. It's only been like maybe a month since I've had it, but it's been in like constant rotation. So those are my 7 most used palettes from this year. Make sure you let me know down in the comments whether you've tried any of these palettes and what your most used palettes were for this year. Be sure to check out Ana Luisa via the link below if you are still doing some of your Christmas shopping, or you're interested in getting any little bits and pieces and gifts for yourself. Make sure you check it out down there. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you for watching this video and sticking around. Check out some of the videos that are on the screen now for you to continue watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, beautiful.